I'm a fraud. I shouldn't be here on the Adobe channel. Because despite the fact that I've been a professional editor for about 15 years, it's still really often when I open up a timeline and I have no idea. I don't know what to do. However, I have found a cheeky way around these problems. I just keep asking questions. So one of my side hustles is that I interview Adobe editors who make some of the most incredible film, TV, and YouTube videos. They do the kind of editing that reminds you of that first moment you fell in love with editing. And these interviews have taught me 3 advanced methods. Methods that every single editor should do before they even think about speed ramping or transition. These are methods that have won these editors Oscars, Emmys, and millions of views. And I want to share them with you, and how you can integrate them into Adobe Premiere Pro. In my interviews, I often ask these expert editors to explain rhythm and pacing. How were you able to then create that rhythm? Was the pacing of this scene so important? What is the timing of a Wes Anderson film? They don't really give me an answer. They just say it's intuition, which is not really that much of an actionable takeaway. But then one Hollywood editor gave me the deeper level of understanding editing that I've been looking for. He said to cut to rhythm the right way, you need to be looking for the rhythm of the eyes. He explained that he's conscious of blinks not to turn up in the wrong places, because they can often land off rhythm to the performances, which can clash when you want something delivered with intention and purpose.
I literally don't have time for friends right now. I am getting a PhD in English and it is consuming my life.
Someone blinking all the way through tends to dilute what they're saying. It can distract and separate from what's being communicated. So if you are cutting towards rhythm and something doesn't feel right, it actually might be in their eyes or even in their blinking. But here's the fun part. What do you do if there's a performance that you like, but they're blinking too much? Just before they blinked, I duplicated the layer and made it a still image. I did a quick mask and then track on their face, covering the blink to keep them staring. Here's the result. This isn't just in films, I've even done this in documentaries, to even TikToks. And you will have no idea how much I've already done this in this video. It is amazing how much a micro movement like blinking can help us tell the story. But often we might not always have that luxury. On the opposite side of that spectrum, we do need to show more by adding visuals. I spoke to a phenomenal documentary editor, and he was telling me about one of the worst parts of documentary editing, when you don't have B-roll to cut to. There was an instance in the video where the subject was talking about an out-of-body experience, and he wanted to run with that idea by, well, representing that. So he prompted into Adobe Firefly and created images that visualized the odd, unnatural experience in a stylistic way. However, that's a new approach to B-roll, and I kind of like how these generative tools can create this new, unique style with a well-detailed prompt. And I wanted to lean into that on this ghost hunting found footage content I was on. So when a fabled ghost story was being told, instead of staying on a talent or finding some disconnecting stock footage, I developed stylized prompts on Firefly that gave me the ability to clearly tell the story. I was able to tell the fable of a man that did experiments on a mountainous ranch, that summoned a ghost that haunted him at night, that forced him to leave and never to return. I genuinely did not have the time or budget to film that story myself, but I was able to create those images and visualize a ghost story. And then I worked with an animator in Premiere and After Effects to just generate life back into the image. We placed a stock of lens, dirt, and scratches below the footage. Then used a screen filter so they come out through the images. But to then make the subject stand out more, made a duplicate with the subject masked out, and so they cover the dirty lens stock. Then gave it a linear burn to make it glow. Then a few extra details, I put a lens flares underneath the subject, and then use an adjustment layer to add a transform camera movement, chromatic aberration, and then grain to give more details to the image. It made the image go from this to this. It gives back a sense of believability and life into those images. Yes, generative AI is new tech, but it's been interesting to explore how it could improve my storytelling in post-production. And that's the magic word, isn't it? Storytelling. time and time again, when I interview guests on Editing Podcast, they always keep coming back to how they're using their story to motivate their cuts. And this is true for guests that edit for film, TV, and even what we're doing here on YouTube and TikTok. And perhaps one of the best creators on YouTube right now is Michelle Carre.
Each of the videos that we released this year took over 12 months of production to make.
And I had the privilege of interviewing her and their editor, Ryan Forsyth. And this was an important interview for me because I know a lot of us content creators are trying to move into long form content. Most of us are making content up to 1 minute, but I know a lot of us are trying to make content that's going up to 20 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. And so to do that, one of the storytelling techniques that we should use is to make sure what we're doing at the start is attributable to the end. And Michelle Carre is a master at that macro style storytelling. And her and her team came across an interesting problem in one of their best videos. How can you make a boxing match which could just be a simple action sequence, instead have a deeper emotional meaning and payoff? The answer is a classic editing and storytelling technique: foreshadowing. So in order to have the final fight feel earned, they knew they had to find clips to foreshadow those beats.
Nice jab though.
Step back, kind of wipe the nose a little bit. I could just see the look on Michelle's face.
Things like Michelle's nosebleed in the finale, it had to be foreshadowed in the early training scenes. You already know the problem. How are you going to be able to go through what is hundreds of hours of footage to find a clip that's relevant to that? No editor actually wants to brute force go through it minute by minute. You don't have to though. Have Premiere Pro do it. You can just search nosebleed or nose.
If your nose bleeds, just come up somewhere there. Never do that.
Nice jab though. Andrea, she answers back. A little blood seeping out of the nose here from Michelle.
There it is. Okay, I found it. Let's keep editing. Premiere's transcribing tool was built for this moment. And now I know I have that clip. I can put that in the first act. Everything is now connected. You are now telling a story. Honestly, the transcribing feature is a godsend. Even with talking head videos like this, I can just search "I'm a fraud" and here is all of my takes on that. In fact, here are the opening lines of the video. And as I said, I'm a fraud. I shouldn't be here on the Adobe channel. I don't know anything. But maybe that's a good thing. It's quite liberating to not know anything. It's really exciting when you open up a timeline and you don't know what you're gonna do. A blank Premiere timeline is full of so many possibilities. So don't be scared of it.